Jonathan Hickman's X saga continues today with the release of Powers of X number 4, written of course by Jonathan Hickman with art by R.B. Silva. And it's another scorcher. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this issue, so we're going to get right into it. Spoilers for everything in here, so beware of that. First of all, there's some interesting plot developments and some nice character moments in this issue. Plot developments, Xavier and Magneto, Professor X and Magneto go to the island of Mr. Sinister, what's called Bar Sinister, an island filled completely with clones of Mr. Sinister, and they convince Mr. Sinister to focus all of his research on mutants. And besides that, there's another interesting, I think, character moment with Doug Ramsey, everyone's favorite polylingual mutant who can speak pretty much any language to anyone or anything. And he's talking about to Professor X, well, you can communicate with this island, Krakoa, but you really only understand him at an emotional level. It's not quite the same as language, the way I can talk to him. So it's nice to see that a character like Doug Ramsey, who many have made fun of for having kind of a weak mutant power or not that cool of a mutant power. I mean, he doesn't have claws, can't fly, can't shoot fire out of his hands, but there is some advantages to being able to speak any language, so that's neat. But anyone who's read this issue knows that the really big item here, are all the blind items, all the Mr. Sinister blind items from, I guess, the gossip rag of Bar Sinister, the Nikki Swift of the Mr. Sinister Island. And this is a gossip rag called the Red Diamond. So let's just go through these items that are presented in this issue of Powers of X one by one and offer some speculation about what they might be referring to. I think some of these are a little more obvious than others, but you'll just have to let me know in the comments what you think, how close these guesses are. And I am combining what I think they might be along with prior speculation that I've seen on Twitter, as well as Bleeding Cool and comicbookresources.com. So there's been a lot of ideas already out there about what these could be. So let's add on to that pile. So starting with Sinister Secret number 1, and this is verbatim from the script. So he's trying to pretend that no one noticed he was wearing red shoes, but this truly Sinister isn't fooling anyone. Now again, we know that Mr. Sinister can make clones, and it would seem like, based on the pronouns here, that this is another male Sinister, but not necessarily. That could be throwing us off the tracks of a Mrs. Sinister, which is a character that showed up years ago in X-Men Legacy. So could we be seeing the return of that character soon? It's entirely possible. I think that's the best guess here. Sinister Secret number 2. And speaking of fashion, the Whisper Network has turned into a roar regarding the return of this trend-setting mutant who was cut down in his prime. Will someone please tell all these mutants to stop wearing human clothes and join the stampede across their island full of flowers, and the flower that's the fullest. So, very flowery language, I might say. But what does this mean? I think the best guesses out here, or on the internet already, propose that this has to do with Cyclops. And there have been clones of Cyclops running around, I believe, in the all-new X-Men series that came out from Dennis Hopeless a few years ago. So it might be referring to all those clones of Cyclops. And that might be the common thread with most, if not all, of these Sinister Secrets, like referring to different clones. But, again, just speculation. To be sure, we'll just have to wait and see in the books themselves. Sinister Secret number 3. Years ago, a deceased red-headed pretender made a pact with the devil. When she passed on, most believe that any secret she had went with her to the grave. Won't everyone be surprised when they find out not only is this not true, but she left behind a whole lot more than secrets. This one, a little more obvious, I think, when we're talking about red-headed pretenders to the crown, to the throne. We're talking, of course, about clones of Jean Grey, the most prominent being Madeline Pryor, later the Goblin Queen. So she may not be gone entirely. What secrets may she hold? Well, that one's still up in the air, up for debate. But if I had to say anything, might be something related to Inferno, which I believe ties into some of these later Sinister Secrets too. So next one, Sinister Secret number 4. While every Sinister has been busy wondering how they might be affected by current events, almost no one noticed what washed ashore. A word of advice to all things Sinister: Don't embrace the revelry or there won't be anything for you to celebrate. So something coming in from the ocean or from the sea, washing ashore. A couple different guesses here. One might be this is related to Namor, and what I read were recent events in the Invader series of Namor declaring war on the surface world again. So it might have something to do with the Submariner, or possibly it could have something to do with Jean Grey's original cocoon that kept her safe at the bottom of Jamaica Bay when the Phoenix took over her life way back in the late 70s, early 90s. So one or the other, maybe something different. It's up in the air. Next up, certain people are wondering where this tyrant dispelling Sinister got his mutant gene. And while there really isn't an interesting story, whom the DNA originally belonged to is, it just says in brackets, John Proudstar Thunderbird. So yeah, let's guess that. Mr. Sinister got his original DNA from Thunderbird, who died on one of, if not the first, mission the all-new X-Men went on together in the 70s. Sinister Secret, number 5. He's the best there is at what he does. She's married with a kid. The husband knows exactly what's going on. But who is he to point the finger? He's up to much the same and more. Maybe this is just the new normal on the Mutant Island. Got to be the love triangle or love square or love pentagon or love hexagon, wherever we're at now when it comes to Wolverine, Jean Grey, and the White Queen. So plenty of different angles to explore there, and these mutants don't know the meaning of the word fidelity. Next up, we've got a Sinister Secret. Everyone believed that the plan of this Progerian mutant with secret sinister ties was foiled, but little did the gifted ones know that the destroyed samples were switched out beforehand. Now, I've seen guesses here related to Cassandra Nova and the mutant that kept her trapped in the womb, though the name's slipping my mind, though. But I think this is probably closer to, when we talk about switching out samples, I'm thinking Strife. I'm thinking the Legacy virus. So even though the Legacy virus was something that I think got cleared up, before Claremont came back on board and around X-Men, or after Claremont's second run around X-Men 112, 113, but could be coming back. This virus could be coming back. I think that's the best guess here. Next Sinister Secret, 2 brothers jumped out of a plane, and for the longest time, until he was discovered, many wondered if there was a third. If we told you there were more, would you believe me? So here, clearly, I think we're talking about the Summers brothers. We got Scott Summers Cyclops, Alex Summers Havoc. The third brother discovered back in Deadly Genesis, that was Vulcan. And, for a long time, people thought the third brother back in the 90s was going to be Adam X, the Extreme. So could he be making a comeback? It's possible. If not, we are likely going to see, some other Summers. I think that's what's being hinted at here. Next Sinister Secret. For years, this fittest of all mutant has routinely surrounded himself with a particular numbered entourage. These hangers-on stick around for a while until they are eventually replaced with newer, more exciting members. What most people don't know is that if the original members returned, these pretenders would be dropped so fast their heads would spin. So here we got to be talking about Apocalypse, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. He's always changing them out at different times. It's been characters as diverse as, even Wolverine was a Horseman of Apocalypse at one point. Caliban, another one. But could he be going back to the original set of 4? If you read Marvel Comics 1000, they've kind of already hinted at that with the Page of Apocalypse written by Jonathan Hickman talking about going back to the original 4 Horsemen. Next Sinister Secret. They say the kids are all right, but all is not right in paradise. This non-couple couple has been apart so long, friends are expecting that when they see each other again, fireworks are going to ensue. Is the universe ready? Judging by how unprepared everyone was for what's happened so far, we kind of doubt it. I don't know, the kids are all right. Let's see, kids, fireworks, could be Jubilee, but non-couple couple, I don't necessarily think we're ever going to see a Jubilee Wolverine pairing. That seems inappropriate. Maybe Jubilee and Sync, maybe Jubilee some other character from Generation X, possibly Jonathan Chamber. I don't know. Another possibility outside that entirely is the sensational new character find of 2019, Mrs. Apocalypse, Moira McTaggart, and in Sabah Nur himself. Could it be those two coming back together in the 10th or 11th life of Moira? Who's to say? There's a couple different options here. I'm not sure what the best guess necessarily is. Next up, Sinister Secret. We don't hear this word spoken often, but when we do, it's best to pay attention, because when you square that circle, what took a long time to build can come crumbling down rather quickly. Inferno in brackets. So this one, maybe they just spelled out. Could be Inferno, right? I think when you talk about squaring a circle, I'm not sure about the original reference here, but I always think like, if you're in a circle, magic can't get you, the devil can't get at you, because there's no corners. There's no corners to sneak into. But when you square it, well, it starts to be some corners, right? So Inferno, I think, would be a good match here. But other guesses I've seen talk about a return to the House of M universe. And since that was triggered by the hex powers of Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, well, I think there's something there to be said too. It might be something related to do with her magic. I don't know. But I think Inferno is the better guess. Possibly a return for Despair or Nastera. I'm terrible with those pronunciations, but maybe. And the last Sinister Secret, number 10, which brainwashed mutant Sinister was replaced long before a certain bald somebody knew and has been in on the game for almost as long as the game was being played. Shh. So again, this goes back to the beginning. There's implications here that Sinister, even though he's been told to focus his research on mutants by Professor X, is really just doing his own thing. He's playing his own game. So probably more to come. More Sinister plans on the horizon. I'll be looking forward to them. If you are too, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this issue of Powers of X. And if you liked the video, please, please, please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap that bell for notifications. And if you're an artist yourself, remember, the only way to get better is to keep drawing. So until next time, everyone, keep drawing.